Hey everybody, this is Moonbase Alpha. Thanks for watching. So, I got my Sig 556 XI today in front of the camera, and I'm talking about this gun because this is the best rifle no one talks about. There is a huge crop of really excellent rifles out there right now that we can choose from as gun owners, gun buyers, gun collectors, whatever. And you can go out and buy your AR-15s, your AKs, and there's a bunch of what I call third-generation tactical carbines available on the market right now. That would be things like the ARX-100, the Bushmaster ACR, the Robinson Arms XCR, the Sig 556. This rifle here, though, is, in my opinion, kind of one of the better ones that's out there. If you're going to choose a 5.56 caliber semi-automatic tactical carbine, and you don't want an AR-15, and you're sticking with the 5.56 because you want caliber compatibility, magazine compatibility, a decent aftermarket, this is kind of the way to go, in my opinion. So let me kind of walk you through mine, how it's set up here, and I'll tell you why I like this gun so much. It's an excellent rifle, and right off the bat, it's been 100% reliable for me. I know there's some people out there who've had some issues with the 556 XI Russian that's in 7.62x39. I think the big problem with that gun is the way that the magazines lock into the weapon and also feed. If you go with the 556 XI that's in 5.56 NATO, like this gun here, this is a much different beast, and I think, in my opinion, it's a much better animal altogether. So, from the muzzle back, this is all the mods I've got. It has a shortened 14.5-inch pinned and welded flash suppressor on this particular gun here. This is a B.E. Myers M249 brake. It's 1.5 inches long, so this brings me out to, that's actually 1 3/4, almost 2 inches, I think. And this brings me out to the legal over 16-inch limit on this particular gun here, but shortens the barrel up a little bit, reduces the swing weight. This is done by a gunsmith. I bought this gun secondhand, so I don't know who did this, but it's an excellent job, and it certainly works. It works amazingly well for this particular gun here. I do have in a little Magpul mount here. This is a polymer MOE mount that goes right onto an M-LOK slot. A little rail mounting section here for a Surefire X300 Ultra. This is sitting on the side of the gun here to give me a little bit of illumination, and that's always a good thing to have, momentary and constant. I've changed the charging handle over to the left-hand side because I'm running a ScalarWorks mount here. I don't know if this is actually the right way to run the ScalarWorks mount, but it has a really low profile, and it keeps the knob for this thing on the other side here, which is kind of nice because I'm a right-handed shooter. Having the charging handle on the left-hand side is really a big deal to me. And one of the things I have run into, and this is a problem with the gun, and I will address this coming up, is that I've had issues with interference between scope mounting. Like, for example, on this Bro BCO, you'll notice that the large flip lever on this is on the left-hand side, and if this is on the left-hand side, it can hit your hand when you're charging the rifle. So that's kind of an issue there. But on this particular ScalarWorks mount, it's so small and slim and trim that it really keeps the gun super thin and doesn't interfere with this charging handle at all. So I have that Aimpoint T2 on a ScalarWorks mount there. I do have a Krebs custom extended safety lever on this thing. A Hogue pistol grip, which I highly recommend. These things are awesome. They're super cheap and they're excellent. And last but not least, you can't really see it, but inside this gun I've actually got from Suarez International, puke, a tensioner that goes between the upper and the lower on this particular gun here. I'll explain the Suarez thing in just a minute, but basically what it does is it puts tension on the upper and the lower and prevents it from rattling. So it's got a little bit of rattle, that's the upper and the lower rattling together, but it's not bad at all. It's not bad. This is not by any means a precision carbine, but it's something that they come pretty loose from Sig, and if you can put one of those little spring-loaded devices in, it really helps tighten the thing up. So let's walk you through some of the things. Although I did want to briefly mention the thing about Suarez. I despise Gabe Suarez. He is one of the worst human beings in the gun industry. He's an absolute piece of garbage. Basically, his company lied to me systematically a number of years back. And after I canceled my order with them, after they couldn't come through on actually finding and delivering a product I had ordered that was out of stock, the guy actually stalked me on Facebook and harassed me for about 6 weeks. It was really a pretty appalling thing. I've never seen anything like it. So I don't like Gabe Suarez all that much. So it kind of pains me to even tell you that there's a Suarez International part in here. But if I'm going to be honest, that's what's in there. If you can at all find the same part from a different seller, I highly recommend you do not buy from Suarez International. So anyway, long story short, the gun itself. What is this thing? Why do you want it? Well, unlike a lot of AR-15s, this does not have a buffer tube in it, which means you can fold the stock. That's a really cool thing, especially if you're space constrained. You know, of course, you can get the Law Tactical folding stock adapters for the AR-15. Those are very expensive. This thing comes to market. I just want you to have this grokked in your mind before we go into actually all the specifics on this. These guns can be had from anywhere from about $1,100 to $1,300 MSRP. Well, not MSRP, street price. Amazing deal for what you're getting. So because of that, bear in mind, this is a budget thing, right? If I've only got so much money to spend, how am I going to spend it? Well, I could buy an AR-15 and put one of those Law Tactical adapters in. Those things the adapters are like $175 a piece. This gets you a folding stock right out the gate without any other further modifications. But not only that, it's actually a locking folding stock. It's got a little detent in it that holds it together. This is like the Swiss style folding stock. It works great. It's nice and solid. There's no buffer tube in here, so you don't have to worry about any kind of parts bending or whatever. This is made out of polymer, and it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. It's not as if I wanted to like mortar this weapon with this, but it works, I think. The cool thing about the 5.56 XI though is the gun is actually the upper receiver in this case. So I'm going to pull this thing apart so you can see. This is a long stroke piston system, and it's quite tight in this particular case, again, because I've got that tensioner in there. But basically, the cool thing about this is the lower receiver is completely changeable if you want to change it out for a different caliber. I think Sig is like every other company, though, that advertises that. They never actually come out with different barrel lengths. So, unfortunately, as far as I know, you know, even if you wanted to change this out to a different caliber or a different barrel length, you can't really do that, practically speaking, because the barrels are not available. But one of the cool things, in theory, is that you'd be able to put like a 7.62x39 barrel on that, change out for the 7.62x39 lower, or use this one here with the Stanag magazine well and just use Stanag 7.62x39 mags. But you can actually get the AK ones and they'll work. And swap around your gun to shoot the appropriate caliber. I think at some point they were planning on doing 300 blackout, 6.8 SPC, 5.45x39. I don't know what the whole litany of things that Sig planned, but here's the thing, right? Again, with a lot of these multi-caliber guns, grand ambitions on the behalf of these gun companies, and they never follow through. So unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. And if you want a multi-caliber system, I do recommend getting an AR-15 instead. However, you do at least have a non-serialized lower. That's pretty cool. That means you can change this out if need be. It's got a very AK-ish trigger group in this thing, although the safety lever is totally AR-15. You know, really a pretty nice trigger group, actually. Everything is nicely stoned. The trigger is a good quality trigger. It's a two-stage. It's actually got a weird over-travel stop here in it that is spring-loaded. And it's got a nice crisp break in it. A little bit creepy, but it's pretty crisp. It's a nice trigger, actually. I like this gun. The only thing I'd say about the trigger is it's a bit heavy, but you know, it's better than AR-15. Definitely totally smooth. You can kind of tell when it breaks. I find this trigger to be much more shootable than an AR standard rack grade trigger. I believe you can change out the stock on this gun too, although I've never tried to do it. So in case this part does break, there is some way to actually pull this thing out and change that. It does have a integrated sling swivel in there. It's not limited, but this is basically for a a sling if you want to do that sort of thing. And of course, you do have a last shot hold open on this with a bolt release like an AR-15. That's a big thing that you don't see on a lot of those AR-AK hybrid rifles out there. This is really, really cool, actually. The whole thing takes regular STANAG magazines. It's got ambi controls on the whole thing, so you've got ambi magazine release on each side and ambi selector switch. Really pretty cool, actually. And it's drop-free, too. I mean, don't let me fool you. This is a drop-free system. Integrated winter trigger guard on the thing. I mean, this thing is built very, very well. Lots and lots and lots of features. Very feature-rich. There's that little piece of sheet metal I told you about. That tensions the upper and the lower together. The upper and the lower are distinct. You know, and again, like I said, they're different from an AR-15 in that the upper is actually the rifle in this particular system. This handguard here, once you remove the front retention pin, simply slides off. It's running on this little rail right here, and that exposes the barrel. You can see the gas block on here, which is all melanite coated. Everything on this, by the way, is melanite coated. This is a huge improvement over the original Sig 556, which I own. In fact, that was the first rifle I ever bought, was a Sig 556, and I really like that gun. The trouble is a lot of the parts were made with phosphate or parkerized coatings or treatments on the steel parts, and they did rust like crazy. And here I live in a very humid southern state, and that can be a bit of an issue, so I definitely appreciate the melanite coating. The barrel's retained with this nut here, which is then affixed to the receiver, and the receiver is even melanite coated. So if you see like the phenacite coatings that you'll see sometimes on the DDI guns, very similar. There's a bolt carrier group, pretty much straight out of an AK, and that's to the good, I think. Very strong bolt carrier group. Not a lot to go wrong there, definitely. It's kind of proven technology at this point. That just simply slides in, and the recoil assembly is actually, you can see there's a little notch there. That actually holds the self-contained recoil assembly, which is up here in the gas tube, to the bolt carrier group. That's retained by this pin here. And all you do to put this back together is you press down on this little latch, insert your pin, it holds everything together, so this thing is totally self-contained, really cool. And if you need to clean this thing, you just simply unplug this gas assembly here, which is adjustable, by the way, and pull this all out for cleaning. I've never had to clean one, though. Honestly, it's funny. I've had 5.56s, Sig 5.56s for like 7 years at this point, and I've never had to clean one. As far as the gas system goes, to the point where it's actually kind of absurd. These things are so ridiculously reliable. It's got a monolithic rail on this particular one, which I think is a big improvement over the originals. The original 5.56 only had a rail that ended right there. And if you wanted to get a big old rail system on the front of your rifle, prepare to add about 1.5 pounds to your gun on an already heavy gun. Speaking of which, this gun is much, much lighter than the original Sig 5.56. Brings the whole rifle down to about 7.5 pounds, because what they did essentially was use a carbine length gas system. And by doing that, you reduce the amount of metal up front and the amount of wear that you're putting onto the support hand. Additionally, you're basically reducing the metal in the gas system. You're reducing the size of the gas block. This is a considerably smaller gas block for this particular rifle as opposed to the original. And the whole rifle is just a much improved version of the original Sig 5.56. So definitely a big upgrade. And by the way, these plastic rail systems, which are available from Sig, they are actually available. You can order them. I think they were going to release a carbon fiber version at some point, but I don't know if that ever materialized. These are cheap parts. I mean, really, you just put them on really quickly. Let me just do this real quick behind the camera. There we go. Just need to be able to see the other side. And this works really great. So the sights actually come on this, by the way. They're metallic sights. A lot of rifles these days don't even come with sights, so really good value there. I've just found that the whole gun itself is an amazing value for your money. You know, a lot of these third generation rifles out there, even the Sig MCX, which is kind of a direct competitor to this gun in a way, they're really expensive. They get up into the sort of $15, $16, $17, almost $2,000 range for a gun that basically does the same thing as this. This comes to market, like I said, around $1,100 to $1,300. And of course, you put some upgrades into it, you're going to add a little bit of cost. But by and large, this thing is a great value. Just a fantastic rifle. I've never had any problems with mine. It's been 100% reliable. Shoots about 3 to 2 MOA depending on what kind of ammunition you're using. It's not the most accurate gun in the world. Again, that could be my shooting. I'm not the best shot in the world, but I don't consider it to be a hyper accurate rifle or anything like that, but it's a close quarters weapon for me. I keep this thing for home defense because it's basically small, light, handy, very nimble in the hand, and really feels every bit of it really feels nimble and light and easy to use. It's hard to describe, really, but it's got that feel to it, that X factor that allows you to think that, man, you know what, this thing is a really good weapon that I could fight with, and gives you the confidence that you need to really take hold of a situation. So this thing, I think, in my opinion, it's definitely one of those underrated rifles, and a lot of people kind of, I guess, discount the 5.56 XI because it's not the latest and greatest hyper wonder rifle, but it's an awesome gun in and of its own right. And I dare you to take a look at one of these things seriously. Take it to the range, especially if you can run with it. And once you put a red dot on the thing, and change a couple ergonomic things on it, the thing just runs like a top. It's a lot of fun to shoot. It's got very little recoil, and in my opinion, it's one of the top performing 5.56 caliber rifles out there. There are some AR-15s that I'd probably take over this. I think are a better value for money, but honestly, not much, because you're getting the sights, you're getting a really nice folding stock rifle. The thing runs just like a champ. It's really pretty impressive. And by the way, the majority of the upgrades on this gun, I just want to mention, are not expensive upgrades. I mean, barring the optic on this, which is a pricey optic and mount, everything else in this gun cost about $200 to add to this gun, including the flash suppressor, which has been professionally pinned and welded. I spoke to the previous owner, and I got that out of him, at least. And frankly, it's pretty impressive to see the whole thing come together. It's a really nice little carbine. So definitely take a look at one. They really are the best rifle that no one talks about, and I really hope that this does a little bit to correct that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Certainly appreciate it. This has been Moonbase Alpha. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you later. Bye.